all I brought on the tour, I brought 2 suits and 1 pair of pajamas for the entire tour. So I wore those pajamas every day for 5 weeks, including the long underwear that I'm still wearing. But the rest of the pajamas, I just laid out like a disembodied person on the last hotel floor. Wasn't the last hotel floor, turns out.
No.
It was, because we got waylaid on the way home. But
are we recording?
I said, I tweeted, the maid can eBay this. I didn't have enough characters to go. I should have left a note on the pajamas. Like, if you put this on eBay, because I don't tip maids. I don't know what your policy is on that, but for some reason, I overtip all the time. But maids, I just don't. Because I never let them in my room.
Right.
Because I don't want them fucking with my shit.
They're not doing anything.
If we're there for 5 days, that maid has 5 days off from our room, and that's a tip. Because we live like fucking pigs. Even if we're there for a couple hours, Chaille knows within 2 hours, within 30 minutes of us checking into a hotel, it's already too filthy to let a maid in. So it's like,
well, no, Bingo's naked and everything is spread out and we're still unloading our stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. The fucking nest has been built. So like a housekeeper, the reason we don't have housekeepers, we have Derek. Oh, Derek, you both have new nicknames, titles. We came up with, Chaille is our life Sherpa. And you are our dumb waiter. I couldn't wait to get back to the podcast to say these things. That's not even in my fucking notes.
Yeah.
We have 5 weeks of notes that we're not going to get through. Oh, and we have a bunch of people here because we're having a welcome home party for ourselves. So give us a goddamn round of applause. We wanted to wait for Chad Shank to talk about a lot of this shit, but we got enough. He's got to do some shit, and we're right at that perfect level of, we don't want to tell all these stories and then have to go onto a podcast and retell them with the same people that just heard the fucking stories here. So we figured we'd do a live event. I got 17 things to start with, but one of them, speaking of live events, at some point, this material has gone to every English-speaking or sort of English-speaking country I can play this in. So I have to put it on a special and start from scratch. And I wanted to do Minneapolis because it's the only major market we had, but we couldn't find a venue that we could agree on or that was working with us.
That's the one market that you hadn't gone to because of a scheduling thing.
Right.
Where this material would have been able to play fresh.
Where no one's heard it.
Yeah.
And so one drunk night a few nights ago, I think in Iceland, on the last, I said, fuck it, let's just do it in Bisbee. So we're in 2.5 weeks. Mark your calendars. We haven't settled. I think it's going to be the 21st. It might be the 20th. But by the time that you hear this podcast, it should be on the website through Brown Paper Tickets. If you're coming from out of town and road tripping, it's going to be a certain amount of dollars, and it's going to be way less for locals because they don't pay for shit here. And I hosted that show for JT Habersat like 6 weeks ago. So they've already heard like 15, 20 minutes of this shit. They're going to have to. So yeah, mark your calendars that come from out of town. So I don't have the same fucking people I know that just heard this shit and I know them. Filming is always, anyway, November 21st, 2015 at the Bisbee Royale. It'll be on my website or check my Twitter feed and my Facebook feed. We'll be pumping the shit out of it. So yeah, that's going to be the new special. So I never have to say this stuff again. And we also have the bonus of filming B-roll around town where you go, when I say I'm not embellishing this, I can show you.
B-roll is just stuff that's going to run somewhere in the special, but around town.
Yeah, just film around town.
Funky stuff.
Burger King. I can show you the Burger King in town. Burger King has brought me to a level of, I thought maybe if I just devoted my life to putting the local Burger King out of business. Because it's the only corporate shit we have. Safeway, but we need that. You want a grocery store that's corporate. I do.
Well, there's only
otherwise you get
three
the
grocery
co-op.
Companies. Yeah.
I grew this kale in my toilet accidentally. I don't want that.
You can't even assemble a sandwich at the co-op. So yeah.
But yeah, Burger King only exists, and I know I've pounded this fact into your heads. They only exist where there's no competition. If there's nothing, there's a Burger King. And in the UK, it was just as bad or worse. They still have travel stops on the highway. Oh yeah, just Burger King, because they contract airports where the only fast food is Burger King. Because if they had anything else, no one would go to fucking Burger King.
Yeah.
So you get where you're trapped and you have to eat that shit. And Subway is the biggest, fast foody kind of place. And we don't even have a Subway. I want to quit comedy and open a Subway in the same parking lot as Burger King to try to put at least one Burger King out of business. I know I'll never have the power. Burger King is in so many remote places that I'm surprised I have not seen it on an episode of Naked and Afraid. And they still choose to eat bugs. Thank you. I tried that joke one time in the UK and no one knew Naked and Afraid. So I figured, fuck it, I'll burn it on a podcast. All right. The podcast, the Shotclog podcast, was when I left here, because we did that podcast, and put it in the tank for a reason. The reason we couldn't air that 100th podcast is we had done a couple of fake interviews for the UK press. Well, one where there was we discussed this, how it was basically fill out this form. It was a comedy website. I don't even remember the name. It's not Chortle. It's another comedy website where they just hand out, here's 13 questions that we give every single comic. Every week we have a different comic answering the same questions. This is not a fucking interview. This is a form I have to fill out. So I just stole other real answers to real interview questions I found online. I just dug Stanhope interview. So from any real interview, and I put them into their questions. I put answers to other people's questions that almost made sense, but not really at all. So it sounded like I was just tripping my balls off. Then we get a second one for the Manchester Evening News where Hennigan went and searched. It was just 3 questions. What do you like about Manchester? What are you going to get up to while you're in Manchester? And what can we expect from you in Manchester? And it's the same thing. They ask someone every week the same 3 fucking questions. So we stole other people's answers who had done that interview, and it hadn't been put out yet. So Brian Hennigan is like, don't put out that podcast until they actually print this. And so I had one answer from Tom Green that sounded and the other 2 were from some DJ where I'm going, oh, my favorite place to go is the Soup Kitchen because they have great vegan options and all the other DJs love this place. It's just like completely not me. And they did no due diligence. And so that's why that podcast, the 100th podcast where we decide on the new name.
Where you christened the new name.
No, we did not christen it. From what I remember, and I won't listen to any Doug Stanhope podcast that is not guest hosted by Chad Shank and has no me. I thought we left it up to people to vote. And I'm 99% sure. All right. A lot of people think keep Doug Stanhope podcast because it's simple. I love Shotclog podcast. Maybe I got drunk by the end and went, fuck it, it's Shotclog.
Well, right here, I'm going to insert where at the end of that podcast, you say, thanks for listening to the Shotclog podcast.
All right.
It'll be right here.
Thanks for listening to the 100th podcast of the Doug Stanhope podcast and the first podcast of the Shotclog podcast. Well, I according to viewer mail, they were voting.
You did ask for a vote, but at the end, you were very, you liked it, and we all liked it, and you said it was going to stick for a while.
Yeah, it went kind of 60-40 against Shotclog. Well, so, some people, I don't know if I'm not enunciating. Is it Shotclog? No, clog, like a clogged drain.
Yeah.
It's a fucking great word. We're sticking with it.
Yeah.
So we just got back from that 5-week tour. Bingo Bingaman is on the podcast.
Hello.
We were trying to wait for Chad Shank, but he'll be on the next one in 3 hours. We just took our last gig was in Iceland, and it took us Arizona time. We were picked up 3:30 in the morning Iceland time, but right now it's Wednesday morning. We got home at 8 a.m. and we left for the airport Sunday at 8 p.m. Got I don't want to say fucked over. There was fog. It got delayed. We missed a connection. Tucson is not an easy place to get to. There's not like, oh yeah, we get 15 nonstops a day. So we get stuck at Chaille, Amsterdam airport, which is
a great airport.
It's the best airport I've ever spent time in.
Why?
It fucking has everything. It has
a Burger King.
It has 2 hotels. It does have a Burger King open 24 hours when nothing else is. You motherfuckers.
They see when everyone else is closed, and that's when they open.
Yeah. Yeah, you have other options, but not fast food where they have skink and dead fish and shit that they eat over there. It's just nothing that's why you gain weight over there, because you end up eating fucking Burger King because everything else doesn't make sense. It's dead fish and stuff that's not like sushi either.
It sounded like Burger King has a really good business model.
Yeah.
I mean, what you are complaining about is what they've decided works.
It's like our Shittown comedy tour. Remember when we played places no other comedian would play just for fun?
That worked.
No one's going to fucking Youngstown, Ohio. Sure, we didn't break the bank, but we stayed alive.
And neither are you again.
Oh, don't you say that. There's a new Shittown tour in the making.
Oh, right on.
At least mentally, because I got to get a new hour. Once I put this special out, I can't go to Minneapolis and fucking riff, and we already burned Canada once doing that.
Fool me once.
Yeah. So we're going to do Shittown 2. We'll come up with a better name. But places we've never played. If I have never played there, Dauphin, Alabama, that's not even the right name. Hastings, Nebraska, says Kenny. I like your yes, exactly. Wichita, I've played there, but not for 20 years.
Maybe we can route in where Joby is now.
Topeka? Well, yeah, that's OKC. He's OKC adjacent, but we could do Altus, Oklahoma.
See?
Played there when I had a mullet, but it's not a cash cow.
Is someone writing this down?
No, I get a map. Don't worry. I got a giant map, and we're going to go through it and figure out. And I'll just be hosting it, and we'll be able to bring, hopefully, Jeff Tate. We have we have a list of options, and bring 2 or 3 guys we know, and I'll just host, and that way I can develop material in places I'll never go back to.
Moose Pass, Alaska.
Moose Pass, Alaska is not really, because we're going to try to do this in a van.
There's a problem with that.
Yeah, it's a bit
the
of
Alaska
a problem.
part.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do all Alaska. Just like do the Jackie Trinket tour.
That's what I wanted.
Get my keyboards.
That's what I was trying to do is get
clothes on Lady in Red. That's funny to 3 people here and Jackie Trinket, should she hear it.
I wanted to actually get a comic to come up early, and then for a week he could do one-nighters, like travel up and then back, because you got a good 5 or 6 days before you actually have to be back to Anchorage. So just come up, because you can stay for free at Coots.
It's not happening.
No one wanted to do it. Not one person said, I like it so much, I want to stay an extra 6 days.
I was, if we route it, I don't know. Again, this is all completely nebulous, but we could do it by regions, where we could get, Andrist and Levine and do the Northwest.
Oh, yeah.
Bend, Oregon. I really would love to play that coffee shop where the kid stabbed himself to death at an open mic.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
What's your angle on that?
Well, because I actually dedicated, I think, one of my last specials on the insert. If you have the hard copy, was to that kid, because he evidently went up and sang a song, an original song called Sorry About the Mess. And then stabbed himself to death.
But everybody thought it was performance
in the
art.
body,
Yeah.
in the chest, repeatedly, and everyone clapped like it was performance art. And you go, that's strong, strong closer.
How is it not performance art? That was the ultimate.
It was.
Show only.
That was his greatest performance.
Yeah. So yeah, we could do it regionally and see where friends are at the time, and because there's too many comic friends I would want to bring out on this, and everyone I don't bring is going to think I'm a fucking asshole. Andy Andrist, specifically.
Well, I mean, you definitely could work it out that way to where you spent 1 week in a region and then bounce to another one and then pick someone else up.
Well, it depends on the region. The Midwest. Once you start in Indianapolis, well, that's a 3-weeker, because there's so many places within 2 or 3 hour drives. Not that we need, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm off topic. I don't have a topic. I have a fucking sheet of notes. It starts with Delta Pin, which is not even where to start.
What are those cigarettes? They're in a black pack.
Yeah, they're duty-free Marlboro Lights from London. They have a Marlboro Light with a brown filter is always a bad thing.
Yeah.
Something different about them. That writer that came over here before the tour brought me a carton.
Sam Wolston?
Wolston. Yeah, that was the only major loss. I lost one more American Express card, which brings it up to about 7 for the year.
7 Stanhope.
If you're going to chat, there's a mic. You can be on this podcast. Bingo's not chiming in much, but I haven't got to that.
I'm rifle.
Her part's coming up.
It's hit me.
Yeah, my vintage fucking Delta tie clip.
Oh, he was
I lost
out of
that
his
in
mind.
Amsterdam.
Calling.
Like, it really.
I know.
I called the hotel.
In tears.
I wasn't in tears that time. There was a lot of times. There was a lot of snapping on this tour. And mostly good shows. There was no like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed. There were shows that were not as good. Edinburgh was the first show. Secret show, meaning, all right, it's a 50-seater where I can remember how to talk on stage again.
Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was the first one that we announced, days before, because we know we're going to...
Which we always threaten to do.
I can sell out 50 seats with no... So, yeah, that one sucked.
Cut to Hennigan pulling his tie. Yeesh. I really wish we got a little more advance warning on this one.
That was the suicide thing.
Yeah.
Well, shit, I should have brought that stupid article out, but...
The headline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was international news, wasn't it?
because of Hennigan.
Yeah.
Hennigan didn't even try to stop the guy from committing suicide. He ran back.
For a camera.
This is good.
He ran back to get his camera. I'm just shit-faced. It's after the show. The show stunk, so I'm like reviewing all the problems in my head because the next night is Glasgow, and that's a big theater. It's a fucking cash cow. And I'm smoking outside in front of the hotel, and there's a bridge across the street, and this drunk girl is chasing Angus was his name. Angus, sit down! Angus! And the guy's obviously infuriated and like beyond drunk, stumbling, Scooby-Doo style, Shaggy. Like he kind of had that gait of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, like leaning hunched forward, like a emaciated,
like kind of lurching,
Bigfoot. Like Bigfoot if he had an eating disorder. And she keeps yelling at him to sit down, even though there's no place to sit down. You're on a sidewalk, but they're both drunk. And then they stop on the bridge. And I think it was Nick that was, was it Nick or no, it was the other Brian that was filming us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Gail and Brian. One of the two is next to me. We're smoking cigarettes out front of the hotel bar. And I saw the guy trying to like, belly flop over this giant bridge rail. Like the rail itself, it's cement. It's fucking the UK. So it's probably 4 feet wide and
it's
high.
Not easy to fall off of this bridge.
Yeah,
you have to work at it.
Yeah, it's a giant monolith. That's not the right word.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Bobo.
That's Bobo. Good call.
Wah, wah.
Just catching some shrapnel. Anyway, these are Howard Stern callbacks from
Earlier today. Yeah.
So, and he's trying to jump and he keeps failing because he's so drunk. And I said, is that guy trying to jump off the bridge? And whichever friend was standing next to me goes, oh yeah, this bridge is famous for suicides. And I'm like, and he's just standing there smoking. I'm like, well, I'm going to watch. So I crossed the street after looking both ways 11 times because you're drunk and you always forget which way traffic is coming.
It's also where people get hit a lot.
Yeah, and die.
Going to watch the suicide.
That would be the greatest death. I'm trying to rubberneck a suicide and I get crushed by a bus. That would be great.
I love that the local gives you the lore on the bridge, but doesn't at all try to stop it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, he wasn't. Yeah, I don't think he was even looking. It was which became a theme.
He's rolling a cigarette, looking down, going, "That's the suicide bridge."
So by the time I get over there's this little guy with a backpack on. There's two guys. One's grabbing him from behind, and the other guy's trying to talk sense. And I got in front of him, and I just started talking nonsense to him because he was obviously so drunk that. At one point, I was telling Kenny, I was holding both of his wrists, and I'm between him and the bridge, and I'm holding his wrists while the other guy's got him around the waist from behind, and the other guy's grabbing him somewhere, and he says, "Get your fucking hands off me," because I'm the one making eye contact.
You're the one closest to the spit hole.
Yes. "Get your fucking hands off of me." And I went, "I'm not touching you, man." And he believed me. Like, I'm obviously holding your hands in front of you. So he was that drunk, and he wasn't suicidal. I think he wanted just to prove a point to his girlfriend by jumping off a fucking bridge. And I think we've all been there. I will jump off this fucking bridge. But it wasn't like he wasn't fighting. He would have jumped if he could have. He was that drunk and stupid. Yeah. But as his girlfriend's going, "What should I do?" I'm like, probably call the police.
I'm sure you've done enough, sweetheart.
Yeah. You're not talking him out of this. So you just call the police. So then when the police showed up, then they took over. But by then, Brian had run over with his camera, took 2 pictures, called our PR girl. And then the next morning, as I was just a little less shit-faced than that dude.
Yeah. You were next on the bridge.
Well, you guys know me here. When Alex is about to drive and he can't figure out his keys from his gloves, I'm just as drunk, but a little bit less. And I go, "Just lay down for a while." And that's what I did with that guy. Before you commit suicide, just hang on a second, because I'm a little less drunk, and I think it's a bad idea. And that's what I said. It was the equivalent of, because Brian, the next morning, comes into my room, and I'm hungover and just sweating oils, and he says, "We sold it." And I go, "What?" Like, I didn't even remember it when he brought it up, I go, "Oh, fuck yeah, the suicide guy." He's like, "No, you have an interview in 10 minutes. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like, there was nothing. It was the equivalent of stopping a toddler from going the wrong way down or up an escalator. And you go, "No, little guy. No. And you just hold him back until the cops come.
I love that Hennigan looks at this guy's story, his life story or maybe death story, as like day trading. We sold it! Sell!
No, that's completely Hennigan, and it's completely me to go, "Yeah, it was just a drunk dude." So I get on the phone, and the lady says, "Well, let's start by talking about your heroism." And I said, "Listen, hero is a really strong word, so lead with that in the story."
And they did.
I'm getting that framed. It's
Do you
the
want me
newspaper.
to get the paper?
No.
No, it'll be on the podcast. We'll
But no, I just I completely sarcastically did the story like it was nothing, and she's laughing with me, but wrote it up still heroic, and it even made an op-ed piece. "Suicide's no laughing matter. We should really respect." I'm like,
they use that angle, the comedy angle.
Some guy that was trying to fucking win an argument with a chick.
What are these American comics coming over here and stopping our boys from jumping off bridges? Fuck America.
But it was great, and that was the first night after I just like trying to remember material from Canada 2 months ago, which I had only done 10 shows in a year.
Oh, I know.
Going into that. So that next night, okay, now I have something to open with. Suicide, dude.
Yeah.
Because it was all over
and it
there.
segued into a nice piece as well.
Yeah, and the next night in Glasgow, I want to say record setting, but we don't keep statistics.
As we should
5
now.
separate brawls, 9 ejections in one show where I only saw one in the first 10 minutes. There were the second row, because that's all I can see is the first few rows, and second row asked the third row politely if they could quiet down their chatter. Did you do that, Chaille?
That's not me. Is that you, Trace?
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
This is a problem we've had lately.
Oh yeah, that's well. If this was Glasgow, it would be a fight. Because they politely asked them to quiet down, and
even if it wasn't polite, they turned around and said, "Hey guys, pipe down."
This 10 minutes into my show,
Yeah.
I had to find this. You know what? I have the fucking email. I shouldn't have even been telling this story because I have the email from the guy who got poked in the eye for asking them to quiet down.
You want to get it?
You know what? Please hold. We'll be back after this break where I can get that fucking email. Hey, if you're coming to Bisbee, and a lot of people tweet me that they are, if you're not a comic, I don't really pay that much attention. But if you are staying here, the rule still stands. If you're coming to Bisbee, stay at the Shady Dell if it's available, and I will step away from my book and come have a beer with you. Even Ichabod says, yay on the Shady Dell. TheShadyDell.com, TheShadyDell.com. It's a vintage trailer park. Trailers done to the nines, just like it's 1958. You're gonna love it. I will come down. I'll have cocktails with you. Maybe we burn a steak. I don't know. But stay there. If you're in town and I'm in town, I will see you there. And now back to the podcast, already in drudgery. Hey, here's something that was mailed to 212 Van Dyke Street, Bisbee, Arizona, 85603, that was waiting for me amongst a bunch of other gifts. But since we're going to break, this guy, I'll probably never read it, Brian M. Clark. It's just a plain white cover book that he wrote, and it's called Fuck All You Motherfuckers, period.
Perfect.
And it's just every day, it's just like basically a tweet. I still can't believe they let women be doctors nowadays. There is no way I'm letting some fucking woman touch my junk. Tuesday, January 15th, 10 a.m.
So apparently he's gay.
Well, it's just him bitching like a tweet version every day. And I like the idea. It's kind of like the daily negations that Russ Dunn, we used to have him read. Which we do have, and I want Chad Shank to start doing those. But we'll get back into that now that we're home. U.S. Tuesday, April 9th, 2013, 2:10 p.m. U.S. military suicides are at an all-time high. So aren't we a bunch of sentimental saps if we don't implement some kind of kamikaze program? All right. I picked those at random. I didn't cherry pick those, but yes, buy the book, Fuck All You Motherfuckers by Brian M. Clark. Thank you for sending that because just the title made me laugh. But I'm an easy laugh right now. And now back to this Glasgow email. And fucking Ggreg Chaille has a stupid fucking password because his computer's so goddamn important that it shuts down for fucking, you spent 30 seconds. Bingo, my fucking computer's going to shut off. Can you grab the cord out of that same? Oh my God. It's the best podcast in the world is what I'm saying. I'm saying we're all fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
Dysfunctional.
We just spent 60 hours from the time we got picked up at our hotel to go home in Iceland till the time we actually walked through the door and almost cried. Bingo probably cried. I didn't. Till I looked for trousers and went, fuck. Trousers is all dead and shit. So, all right, here's the Glasgow. This is, I saw the fight. The fight breaks out within the first 10 minutes of my show. I haven't even got to my first bit. I'm just riffing about the guy's suicide. And, all of a sudden I just see 5 people, like real brawl, like hair pulling, smashing faces, people trying to break it up and then hitting people that hit the people trying to break it up and then hitting them back. And I stepped back and I just leaned against the table that they had on stage and went, all right, I go, what would Joe Rogan do right now? Would he continue doing his show or would he go into UFC commentary?
Yes.
So I'm just riffing through the fight because, again, everyone would rather see a fight. If a fight broke out in a titty bar, if a fight broke out in the ass-to-ass scene of Requiem for a Dream with 2 chicks working a double donger, people are watching the fight.
Yeah.
So as a comic, something, front row center, basically. You wait it out.
How big was the venue?
This is 1,000-seater at least.
Yeah. So like even something that's happening that close, it's in the midst of this huge event that's happening.
The weird thing is everyone sitting around them was literally placidly staring at the stage, politely waiting for the show to go on. Like they're not even phased. Frankie Boyle, who is, I'd say my counterpart over there, but he's way more famous. We're kindred spirits. He gets in all sorts of shit. I've written op-ed pieces defending him getting into shit for an op-ed piece he wrote, and I'd never met him, but I've seen him I've seen his face, and he has a very distinct. He's a beardy guy, and as I'm watching. To my right of where this is happening in the second or third row is a dude that looks just like Frankie Boyle. And I kept wanting to make like some kind of, you look like Frankie Boyle. I never thought it was Frankie Boyle. But after the fight that I saw, I'm not going into the crowd. Just plow through your material and get the fuck out.
Don't show off.
Yeah. Was Frankie Boyle the whole time.
Oh, really?
He tweeted. He didn't even mention the fight. And there let me read the email.
It's a total non-event over
This
there.
is from John Byrne with a Y-R-N-E. John Byrne. Fight at O2 in Glasgow. Doug, I've been a disciple of yours. Let me move the mic. For about 6 years, I preach your gospel. I was in the third row when you came out on stage, and yeah, you looked like shit. So far, so good. Then some spanners behind us. They got crazy talk over there. A spanner. It's probably like a schemie or a Ned.
Local term. Yeah.
Or a tweaker, who knows?
Well, it's a schemie and a Ned is kind of like that. They live in this, fuck it. Why am I trying to explain? Sorry. Some spanners behind us are being overkeen with their enjoyment of your show. I can't make you out for the hyenas behind me. Sorry, it's Glasgow speak. I merely asked them nicely, guys, we're all here to have a good time, but any chance of just lowering it a little, please? To which I was told to fuck off. Who did I think I was? And then Jesus-looking fuck behind me. This is weird because when the fight broke out, I just assumed the long hairs were the nice guys. But it turns out the Jesus-looking fuck was... The Jesus-looking fuck stuck his finger in my chest while spouting movie line about having the minerals to back up my request. Cue Rocky music, he writes. Wow, it's a chest. I thought he poked you in the eye, and I told this story throughout the whole fucking tour that it was your eye.
Charlatan!
It's kind of funnier that it was in your eye, but he poked you in the chest. I missed a good 20 minutes of your show, and had it been a normal night, I would have worked my way backstage to say hello, but unfortunately, being 6'1" and looking like David Banner after being the Hulk, no fucker was giving me access.
Oh, I get it now.
That goes on. So, but anyway, so that was the cool thing is security when they finally broke it up. They let the guy that got poked in the eye. Let's just say it was the eye. It's
I like
better.
the eye.
But they just moved him up to another place so he could watch him and his friends that got fucked with and threw the poker out.
He also has shredded clothes. That's the David Banner reference that I didn't get the first time I read that.
Oh yeah. All right. I didn't get that either. I was trying to read. I'm not good at that. But what we didn't know is after that, 4 more individual fights, including someone almost being thrown off the balcony that I couldn't see, so I never addressed. I just kept talking and not asking that guy why he looked like Frankie Boyle. And security came back after the show and brought us a bottle of champagne because it was their record
right.
for 9 ejections, 5 separate fights. Someone fucking hanging someone off the balcony like he owed Suge Knight money.
Ice, baby.
And that was one of the best shows.
Yeah.
No hecklers. They just beat the shit out of each other.
No, well, the hecklers got beat up.
Not necessarily. I don't know what the other 4 fights were about.
Yeah.
The point is that was the second night. First night is the suicide guy. The second night is ultimate fighting. And you go, all right, this is only going to go downhill from here. Yeah. Take that computer out of here because I'm going to spill my drink all over it. London. We did 2 nights in London. In the I'm not even going to name drop here because I had to look it up anyway. But I knew the name and I'm like, why is that? Oh, is an Oscar-winning film director. You know what? You know how he emailed me is his son books one of the venues we used to play in Louisiana. So we'll just leave. Yeah, as his dad. So he emailed me going, hey, I'm doing a movie about a comedian, fucking Robert De Niro, and he's this type of comedian, and I just don't think the material's up to snuff. He's like, old Don. I was wondering if you'd help punch this up. I'm like, what the fuck? All right, so now I get that, and then it's just every day, just some little non-event story that just brightened up my day. And I read the script and I'm going, oh, you need way more help than I can fucking give you on this. Even if I wasn't on tour, if this was a full-time job, you'd have to rewrite the entire script. And if I could screenwrite, I'd be doing it for myself. But it's just like a little, like every day there was something. For the first couple weeks, there was just, so suicide, like it was and the fights. Well, yeah, the guys still get to watch a show. They just moved them. But it was like some bullet point. You realize, like, we're going to Africa in a few weeks for vacation. Oh yeah. And I realize, like, I want things to tell other people. I want shit to say on the podcast that I'm not really interested in. I just want to be able to say I went to Africa.
Do a show in Africa.
Like, all this shit, I'm like, I have great stuff to talk about on the podcast, even though they're really non-events. Like, I've finally emailed.
Those are events. You might not think they are because you see them every day.
Well, no,
you're not listening to this podcast. In fact, the only ones you've listened to, you've said, are the ones with Chad on it.
There's that, if I've made this reference before, sue me, but there was a book when we were kids called Nothing Ever Happens on My Street. And it was this kid sitting around glum on the sidewalk, but nothing ever happens on my street. And meanwhile, there's people parachuting and there's like just all sorts of shit going on behind him. And he just keeps, he's woeing about the fact that his life is so boring.
In occupied France during World War.
Yeah, it wasn't that hardcore. Okay. We should rewrite it hardcore. They're making a bingo coloring book. Yay! Yes, Gretchen. While we were in Iceland, Gretchen, get up to the mic. While we were in Iceland, there's no way we're covering this whole fucking tour in one podcast. In Iceland was the last show, and you know, Shawnee was the reason Shawnee and Gretchen are a couple here, friends of ours. Shawnee built most of the entire fucking estate, the safe house. We came up with a good word for this place, too. Wasn't the...
Don't look at me.
The compound?
It's not a compound, though. We had safe house. But Shawnee came in one day and said, Gretchen and I were thinking about going to Iceland for Christmas. It sounded like a really quaint, cool place to go. And
I hadn't heard about that. Okay.
yeah, that's before the first time. This was 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I went, yeah, that's. I just read about this comedian who had been made mayor of Iceland because they had that huge economic collapse, and he ran a joke campaign to get elected and won. Much to his surprise, he became mayor of Reykjavik for 4 years, and so I had just read that story, and I go, fuck yeah, I want. Iceland sounds like a cool place to disappear to. So I found his email, and I emailed him. Some funny email about I am coming. I think this should be a diplomatic event. We should meet and have some kind of official whatever. And he wrote back and said, "Oh, I just found your work myself. I don't believe in coincidence. This is." So Shawnee was the reason that we ditched you. Well, fuck Christmas. We're going now. And he's very cool. And Frosty Nar, his son, has been on the podcast. He came and visited.
Wasn't he here?
Yeah, with Lara Kett's son.
Lara Kett, yeah.
Yeah. So we go to his house for dinner this time in Iceland after the show. And he started talking about, I read two of his books. He has a trilogy, The Indian, the Pirate, and The Outlaw is the one that I wrote a foreword for. I don't know if they're going to use it, but that's coming out in English in January. And in one of them, he talks about how when he was a kid, his sister lived across the bay. It was fucking Iceland, like Killer Whale Bay. And he wanted to go visit her. He's 12 years old or so, and he built a raft. Like just by himself, he builds a raft, and he's gonna paddle across. It's like Anchorage. Where
you had me at Killer Whale. That's not a swimming bay.
Yeah, and it's
you want to be
it's
in a
never
big
worn.
boat, not a raft.
But he launched himself, then gets caught by a current, where he's 12 years old, alone, trying to paddle on some makeshift fucking
milk jugs and bamboo. Or I don't know what they have over there.
I don't think they have milk jugs. Yeah. I think they have coconuts. I don't know what they. Anyway,
the new Iceland.
Finally, as he thinks he's going to die, he's miles away and going out to sea, and the whatever their Coast Guard is finds him and rescues. Wow. I don't think I'm as drunk as my mouth is.
You are.
They rescue him. So I bring it up at dinner, sitting around having this like Thanksgiving dinner proper meal. Everyone has a place.
The man's meal, right?
The man's meal. Yes. Oh, you already heard about this?
No, I think you said it last night. We were drunk last night, but you said something. They had a name for it.
Yeah, they have a name for it where it's to honor the man of the house, but it's like Thanksgiving. It's proper. So I bring up this story. And he kind of blows it off like it's no big deal that he was 12 years old floating out into the fucking Arctic Ocean for miles with no. And he goes, "Oh, yes, but, have you ever seen this documentary?" I'm doing a horrible Icelandic accent. You ever, The Random Journey? It's about this man who made this giant boat, and he sailed with the homeless people across the Atlantic Ocean, and he made it. He made his own boat. And I go, "No, I don't think I've seen that documentary." And so he pulls it up on his computer, The Random Journey. And then as soon as they show this giant boat, Bingo goes, "Here." And we both look at each other and went, Gretchen sailed on that boat with what's his fucking goofy name?
Papa Neutrino.
Papa Neutrino. I'm like, no, that's our friend. She was on that boat.
What the fuck? Really?
How fucking random is that? Because you're the guys that got us to even meet that guy. And then he's like, "Oh, my trip was nothing. Look at this." Like our friend from Bisbee was on that boat. Papa Neutrino. Give us a little bit of the story.
The Neutrinos were a rafting, I was going to say cult, but I scratched that out in my mind. A rafting group.
A rafting group homemade kind of, like it was basically an art car of boats.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Totally homemade
What
scrap
year?
materials. Well, they did it for many years.
Sounds like a 70s
They
thing.
actually crossed the Atlantic.
No, they did. They built a home-built scrap raft and actually crossed the Atlantic with some dogs and the whole thing.
But
It was
you
crazy.
lived on that boat.
We built our own. We did live on their boat for a bit, and then we built our own.
We broke
raft.
off. We
broke off.
It was fucking bullshit with,
was kinda like
with their
It was
dogs.
kind of like the Jeffersons came from All in the
All
Family.
in the family, yeah. We did our own thing.
So we like went for the art raft. We built a 34-foot dragon-shaped raft out of home-built materials, and we sailed for
nails.
2 years on that. And it was scary.
2
There's
years?
2
You
years.
lived on it for 2 years?
Yep. Yes, I
You're
did.
a fucking weirdo. I
Those people.
knew you. I didn't
And they
know
had
the
the
amount of
raft
time.
next to us. They took us on some crazy journeys. Yeah.
If you listeners would know Gretchen Bear from all your paintings and photography of especially bingo, at Gretchen Bear BAER. So you probably already follow her. If you don't, fucking start. But
Also,
that was
Paint Your Town. Give it a plug.
Paint Your Town.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that going on?
Yeah. Still going on.
All right.
Yeah. The old drug-free van is now the Paint Your Town van. Yep.
Good. Well, we'll catch up on that later.
Yeah. All
I'm
right.
done with
Whoa.
all this list.
See
But
ya.
that was the that was a huge. We were having so much fun in Iceland at that point. Like we're done work. I even tweeted, "I have no more professional responsibilities in my life,"
Retired again, right?
and we're going to a nice house for dinner, not fucking Burger King, and we ate shit I would never eat just to be polite. They had lamb that I think they killed in the kitchen. Like, everything. I was eating vegetarian shit. I was eating. There was a vegetable we ate that they had to pass around till someone could come up with the English name for it. And a turnip.
Turnip and
Yeah.
rutabagas, right?
Well, yeah, someone guessed rutabaga, but they settled on turnip. To the best of anyone's guess. It's shit I'd never eat. It was a beautiful time with a beautiful family. And, yeah. Then it turned into 60 hours of nightmare. We left there. We went and watched the Cincinnati Bengals fucking
Go Bengals.
stay unbeaten.
Who
barely.
dey?
And then had to go back to our hotel for a 3:30 a.m. pickup for a 6:30 flight. Because in Iceland, even though there's not a goddamn thing there, they have to put the fucking airport an hour away. It's like Denver Airport without the Denver. It's just that fucking far away. And got there. We had 2 times Bingo and I were Bingo told someone to fuck off in an airport at one point. Not that time. There was at some point I had left her. We had several fights on this trip.
None of them lasted more than.
Well, that was one where I go, listen, you got to take care of yourself. Here's your passport and the gate. You can look at signs and find the gate. I'm going to go do some other shit. And as soon as I leave you, some asshole.
I can't even remember what he said to me.
He said, "Oh, please." I wrote it down.
Okay.
He just walked by because she has blue hair or something and went, "Oh, please," in whatever stupid Scandinavian accent. And she just openly, loudly,
I said fuck off and walked on.
but really loud.
Yeah, really loud. But the balloon was funnier. When
A balloon told you to fuck off?
No, we had if we're gonna snap, it's in airports, and it's never Bingo. It's always me. But Bingo, there was some like bank having a giveaway or sign up for a credit card kind of stand.
Yeah.
But they had balloons, which, as you all know, if you don't know, I have an irrational fear of balloons. But bingo, we got all our shit.
All of our luggage we're hauling around right now, and they kept trying to give me this balloon.
They're handing out balloons. And like, ma'am, would you like a balloon?
Your hands are completely full.
So I snap on him. I'm like, what about me looks like I want a fucking balloon? I don't want your fucking balloon. What is it?
She kept going with it. Bingo snaps. It's the most adorable thing.
Yeah.
I can never love her more than when she finally, because she never breaks apart, but she kept going even after the balloon people were long behind us. Why would that man think I want a balloon? She didn't even care about my fear of balloons. Just look at my hands. There was,
I snapped on that guy.
there were two people.
Oh, please.
That had the misfortune of sitting next to us. One, I always get an aisle seat because I'm claustrophobic. So I get an aisle seat on this one flight, and I sit next to two girls. I think they're, well, you don't have to leave. You can hang out. Are you just bored? When you leave, I think I'm boring you. No, go ahead. Go.
Now leave. Now you have to leave.
Now you have to go.
Are you guys, I gotta ask you, Doug, are you guys stinky at this point? Is this early in the tour? Because at some point, I mean, your travel clothes stayed.
Yeah, we tried to shower more than we normally do, which is still not very often.
Well, I don't even know what that means, and I live with you guys.
It was so cold. I was taking baths all the time.
Oh, that's right.
Just because
You
it
do
was
that.
cold.
Yeah, oh my God. I almost fucking cried when I listened to the Chad Shank
and
podcast.
Ichabod
and I heard
barked.
Ichabod barking in the background. I will
teared
never
up.
chastise that dog for barking again till later.
So you said
I-
you're sitting next to a couple people.
Yeah, so I get an aisle seat. At this point, I'm picking seats. Bingo always wants window. I want an aisle.
Yeah.
We don't give a fuck if we're sitting together. And somehow they go, well, this person is with this person.
Yeah.
Would you mind?
Would you mind?
So I have to look like a dick. And so I'm in the window seat and I'm claustrophobic and they're Canadian. But they might as well be American.
Chatty cunts.
Chatty, young. and then the guy was like, and I was like, and just like, and I was like, and I'm like, no, like, not a chance. Like, I started counting so I pulled out my pad of paper and, I put my earplugs in afterwards, but I wrote down on my pad of paper on whatever airline, SAS airline, two chicks next to me won't stop talking. Oh, I think I can't, I'm in a window seat, so I don't have access to my earplugs. That's what it was, because my bag was up. And this girl's entire vocabulary consists of like. Literally every 3 to 4 words, she says like. I'm going to now check every time she says like in a 1 minute. And I checked 24 times in 1 minute. She said like, and I left it out there knowing that as soon as I put my eye mask down, they're going to read that, which they did. Yes, because when I woke up, obviously I'm drunk when this is going on. When I woke up, I had to piss. And they were just ordering another round. They were getting 2 beers at a time. Mm-hmm. And I go, fuck. Because I know they've read this. They had to have read this. I left it sitting out. I'm reading a book, ISIS, The State of Terror. So I have ISIS out. Yeah. And so I bought their round. I go, I'm going to get their round of beers because I had to make nice. Because knowing they read this, because I'm going to have to make them get up to piss and I'm in a window.
Did you pepper in a couple likes?
And, well, then I just, I gave them some shit and they go, yeah, we read your thing. And then they thought it was funny. And then I put them on the guest list and they never showed up.
No.
That was one person that went well.
Yeah.
Was one named Moon Unit Zappa?
On the flight that we originally, on the flight that our supposed to be last flight out of Iceland, we were in the row 2, which you go, perfect. You don't want bulkhead, but row 2 is bulkhead on that flight. bulkhead, you can't have, that's the first row. You can't have any shit at your feet. I had my jacket on like a blanket, and they made me put that up
in the overhead.
like it's luggage. I'm like, really? But you can't say shit because this is the flight that's getting us home. And she's got window, I got aisle, and this tall, lanky, angular kid with red hair is in the middle. And he says, "Oh, you're together? How about you sit?" And I go, "Nope.
Not a fucking chance.
He goes, "Well, you can sit with her." And I go, "No." Bingo says, "No, I like window. He likes aisle." He goes, "I also like aisle."
Yeah, that's good for you.
Yeah, a lot of people do. First time flyer. And then he tries to order a drink, and they won't give him a drink because he's underage. Well, I didn't know he was underage. He's like, "I wish I could get a drink." I go, "I got vodka."
We have mini bottles.
Yeah,
we
I always travel with mini bottles. He goes, "Oh, good, because they won't serve me because I'm underage."
He's like, "I
"You
won't
just
now."
blew that one. So he keeps. I've never had someone try to force conversation on two people. 6:30 in the morning, 6:35 flight, and he's like, "Where are you coming from? Where are you going to?" Bingo's already got her eye mask on and a pillow.
I don't at this point. He's asking you questions, and then you shut him down. He turns to me and asks me if I want to have a conversation with him, and I said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
What
And then I
about
put
me?
my mask
He said,
on.
"Oh, your book. What are you reading?" I go, "It's about ISIS." He goes, "Well, what have you have you found any interesting facts about ISIS?" And I said, "Absolutely not. Absolutely nothing." And then at some point, I wiggled my earplug while he's talking into my ear, only on the side that he's on. He was so fucking annoying. He goes, "I think that maybe you want to read your book more than talk." Are you fucking serious?
And then don't forget.
At some point, I wake up or come out of my book. Somewhere in the middle of the flight, he pulls the in-flight magazine out of the fucking bulkhead and finds some ad. I don't know what it was for, but there were like 8 people in what looked like a Game of Thrones kind of scenario, which could be any rural Iceland town. And he goes, "That is me. That is 2 years old." And I went, "That's really good for you." And I went right back to my book. He's a model, and he wants you to, still don't give a fuck about you. Just trying to get out of Iceland. And we would. 56 hours later. I had a bunch more fucking notes, but I think it's time to take a break.
Yeah.
We're at about 50
Yeah.
total.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll close this up with the...
Do you want to do a thank you to the guy who did the...
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I got a bunch of plugs, but
just know if you need
I'll do that
anything.
on the break.
All right.
I'll break. I'll come up with some plugs. We'll close soft, strong. I don't know.
Well, we'll aim strong, but
I get some more. I get some more snapping. I have a whole section of notes of times we snapped.
We can just
Bingo's
keep going.
fucking airplane farts. That was Jesus Christ. There's no story other than whatever she was eating. For a while, she was eating 6 cans of tuna fish a day.
What?
And that was it.
I couldn't read anything else. I couldn't figure out what anything else was.
Kenny just fucking retched and left. Canned tuna?
By the way, Bingo is eating right out of the can Frito-Lay cheese dip with her fingers.
She's eating nacho cheese dip. I don't know what's making Kenny vomit.
You can read that can and you still ate it.
Her farts were actually a point of contention with me, where I go, "No more. I'm actually switching our seats. We're not sitting in the same
And
row."
you were like forcing me. You said, "Call down, get yourself your own room."
Go
now.
get your own room. She was not just airplanes everywhere, just these silent, and they weren't even they didn't smell like shit. They smelled like dead things.
Dead
And
fish.
and they just linger forever. Like
We're familiar with a fart.
it was constant. It's like she smelled like that.
Oh.
It wasn't like occasional. She was farting so often. And then like entire plane rides where you're like, this is fuck you. Fuck you.
She's like Pigpen. From Peanuts.
Could never and every time I said we're not sitting in the same row ever again on this whole, and then I'd capitulate. Well, I won't do it anymore. Like she could help it. Yeah, every fucking flight.
Sorry.
It wasn't even just you saying fuck you. It was the whole plane probably saying fuck you. They just didn't know who was doing it.
No, it's the whole plane saying fuck you to me. Because they wouldn't think a nice, cute little fucking blue-haired girl is going to make that stink. There was one point, and I had to stop myself from saying, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, my girlfriend would like to apologize to the plane for the wretched smell she made. Because I knew if I said that, it's going to make it look even more like it was me, and I'm trying to abuse my girlfriend on top of it. All right, we'll be back with after this drink.
This is Black Pussy, and you're listening to the motherfucking Doug Stanhope podcast. Bitches.
Chaille didn't mean to yell at you, and I didn't mean to yell at you so many times, Bingo, but we have way more stories about yelling at each other and other people. But you know what we're going to do is wait for Chad Shank, because Chad did a fucking incredible job. I haven't listened to the last Chad Shank with the Halloween, but we listened to the other ones, and it was so much fun, and we fucking cried every time Ichabod barked, and we missed home a lot. And yes, everyone who tweeted that Chad Shank should take over this podcast is absolutely right. And you know what? He's coming over soon. And then we're already at almost an hour here, so we're going to fucking wait for the rest of these stories till Chad Shank's here. Because it's just more fun with Chad Shank. Everything's more fun. I'm going to try to make Chad Shank feel like less of a psychopath. Because we always hype up his psychopath stories where he could have a fucking legitimate podcast. He could have a voiceover career. He could do a lot of things if we weren't constantly reinforcing the fact that he's a fucking psychopath. So are we. We just don't act on it. I write jokes and I scream at people and I murder people into a microphone. Oh, don't forget November 21st, road trip to Bisbee, and stay at the Shady Dell and book it now. And especially if you haven't seen my act in over a year and a half. So this shit is fresh to you. Cause I got to do this to probably, I don't know, 125 people we'll put in there.
Max.
For a filming. We'll find out. Gene Connors is coming. Yeah.
We could put more than that in.
We could, but we're going to have film crew and we want to keep it tight and pretty. So, November 21st, unless you see otherwise on the website. And, if you're going to road trip down, buy your tickets first and get a hotel first. Cause, you're not staying at my fucking house. You might come over for a beer, but that's the best I can even hint at. We want to thank, Adam from laser-engraved.com, who finally, we got the Doug Stanhope Shotclog podcast. I guess it's official if it's on the sign.
It's on a sign.
Helmet auction donors wall, the Hall of Famers who bought the helmets that built the house that Shawnee built for us along with Electric Dave. Electric Dave. Oh my God, the fucking tweets we get. They want more Electric Dave. We gotta get fucking Margot on. We can film all these people for the new special. Cedric. No one mentioned Cedric. He just chimed in here and there.
He was instrumental in that podcast.
Yeah, he was.
Totally.
Yeah.
He was behind the scenes.
Yeah, the assistant coach never gets any credit.
He Chaille'd the whole thing.
Yes. He Chaille'd the thing. And we did a swap cast, which was one of the big letdowns of that tour. We did a swap cast with AJ. I don't know how many of you guys remember AJ. He was stationed at Huachuca, and he has a serious past with supervising tortures in Iraq.
What
and he
the
snapped
fuck?
and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the letdown was that we didn't have time to do a part 2 because we were using someone else's equipment who had to go, and he had fucking brilliant stories. So hopefully he's coming for Super Bowl, and we could do a part 2 because they had to go with their equipment, and we're like, oh, there's so much more. But even what we have is is good. It's a swap cast, so
It'll be out after this one.
the first part is me talking to Amsterdam Comedy is their podcast.
Yeah.
So us getting acquainted, and then we got to our guest AJ, both of our guests, because they know the guy. He's doing comedy now. Anyway, look forward to that. Thank you, Adam from engraved, laser-engraved.com. I don't know how I'm going to be more sober for the next fucking chunk of this, but there'll be a part 2 of this. And, there's a lot more good fucking stories. I'm looking at my notes. All right. Wait, what was one more thing you told me to, mention? Oh, well, fuck it. We'll just wait for Chad Shank. He makes everything.
No,
good.
you said thanks to Chad. You said thanks to Adam.
I didn't say thanks to you. And you're my life Sherpa.
This life Sherpas.
Hey,
don't get
dumbwaiter, get me a drink. Son of a bitch, get me a drink. We can't close the podcast on that, but every show that they allowed us to, which was most of the shows on that tour, no matter how sunk in the mud I was and not wanting to do the show, we cranked Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. Yep. The song is Son of a Bitch. Before and after the show. Before the show, I immediately was fucking hopping around like I was on a pogo stick. And thank you, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, for making that song that carried me through that tour of all the most depressing countries that speak English. All right. Here's something else from Mishka Shubaly's new album, or are we out?
No,
you played them
we
all?
need the one after Ohio.
Oh, after Ohio, that would be I Still Remember When You Were Mine, or I Can't Remember When You Were Mine.
I can't remember when you were mine.
I can't remember when you were mine. I can't remember when you were... Here's Mishka. He does it better. And overproduced in this version. Available at DougStanhope.com.
Boxes and boxes of unlabeled crap. If I die now, will they ever get unpacked? Boxes and boxes of unlabeled crap. If I die now, they will never get unpacked. I can't remember when you were mine. I can't remember when you were mine. I can't remember when you were mine. 2003 feels like 1989. Sweet child of mine. And that nightstand I built for you, is it lonely for me alone in your bedroom? Does it cry at night, or does it understand as you tremble underneath your new man's hands? I can't remember when you were mine. I can't remember when you were mine. I can't remember when you were mine. 2003 feels like 1989. Sweet child of mine. All those messages that you've been receiving that I can't remember leaving. It's a small relief still. It's a good thing. You're deleting without listening. They disappear like pennies down a wishing well. Tiny good intentions on the road to hell. But I'll go bankrupt and that well will overflow before you'll forgive me and let me come home. can't remember when you were mine. No, I can't remember when you were mine. No, I can't remember when you were mine. I can't remember when you were mine. No, I can't remember when you were mine. No, I can't remember when you were mine. 2003 feels like 1989.